Hi, this is Scott from Chino Basin Water Conservation District here in the WaterWise Community Center demonstration garden for a quick planting demo showing you all of our top tips and tricks for planting California native and other WaterWise plants. Today we're going to be planting this 1-gallon white sage. Now first things first, you need to make sure that you're putting the right plant in the right place, meaning you're taking into account factors like, is the sun correct? In this case, full sun. Is the soil well draining or not? In this case, yes. We have lots more information about all of those right plant, right place factors on our WaterWise Garden Planner website and other links to videos in the description of this video. To get started with planting this 1-gallon white sage, first thing is if we have a garden that's already mulched or a section of landscape area that has any other cover other than just the bare soil, we need to move that away because we need to be sure we're planting in all 100% true soil. We don't want to be getting any of this wood chip mulch into the hole. Next part is digging our hole. It really helps if you're able to water the whole area that you're going to be planting in very well, deeply down to at least a foot deep of that moisture penetration. Go out there, dig and check a couple of days or so before you're planting. You want the soil to be moist, but you want to let it dry down some. If you have really heavy clay soil, maybe you're going to even wait 3, 4, 5 days, but get some moisture into the soil. It makes digging much, much easier. Sometimes it's not possible, but if you can make it happen, it's a great idea to do that. Now we're going to actually dig our hole into soil that is nice and evenly moist in this situation. And this is something to really take your time on. What you want to do for most native and WaterWise plants is you want to dig a hole that's slightly less deep than the root ball of our plant because we want that plant to be sticking out just about an inch for most of the plants that want well-drained soil. There's a few exceptions to this. If you're planting grasses, they don't really care. And if you're planting pots from like little 4-inch, you don't want to really go too high. But in most cases, slightly less deep than our root ball, but twice as wide. We really want to make sure that we're going to have good room to pack that soil back in around that plant. And so we're going to get going here. So here's our rough completed hole. A couple of things to notice. As long as there's a general about twice as wide as the root ball of your plant hole, the sides don't need to be completely vertical. That's fine. Now at this point in time, if you have time for your project schedule, it's always a great idea to dig all of your holes maybe the day before and fill each of the holes with water once or twice. This is especially critical if your soil is really dry, if you weren't able to water the whole area ahead of time. If that's possible, that's great because it really makes sure that there's a good bank of moisture all around the soil of your root ball so that that dry soil won't wick water out of the root ball and maybe stress the plant. However, sometimes that's just not possible. If you have a ton of plants going in, oftentimes on commercial projects, that's not possible. And so really pre-watering the soil overall helps a lot, as does another tip I'm going to show you in just a moment. If you have any amount of clay in your soil, it really helps to kind of randomly just poke with your shovel or a trowel at the edges to what's called kind of scarify the edge, because the action of the shovel on clay soil particles can actually almost make like a ceramic pot that makes it harder for the roots to grow out in a natural shape and to start to grow far and wide seeking water and nutrients. And a little bit of that breaking up the sides of the hole can really help. Now that our hole is complete, we're going to check the depth of the hole. And you can see here, which often happens, is that we need to put a little bit of soil back into the hole to make sure we're at that about 1 inch above the surrounding soil level. And so put some soil back in and compact it so it's not going to settle, just lightly with our hands. This next step is one of our favorite tricks to really make sure that when we plant this root ball into the ground, it has as much moisture in it as possible, helping the plant from stressing as it gets acclimated to its new home. We keep a 5-gallon bucket filled with water and dunk the root ball. And so right now we can hear lots of bubbles. So even though this plant was well watered this morning, there's still lots of air pockets in this root ball that can be replaced with moisture to help with planting. Now we'll let that drain out. And I can feel that the root ball of this plant is much, much heavier, and all of this is just great moisture that I could send down into the root ball. After that, we need to take a look at the roots. And so this plant is actually pretty perfect in terms of what we are looking for the size of a plant we're putting into the ground. The ideal plant is going to be kind of proportional with the amount of leaf material and mass above the soil level, kind of well proportioned to the size of the root ball. Part of the adaptation of many California native and water-wise plants is that they'll have these naturally massive, wide-spreading root systems which help them gather any bit of moisture from an area far around. However, when we're transplanting even really healthy plants from nursery pots, if we don't sort of reset the pattern of this root system that's already started, we're going to get a plant that has lots of roots sort of circling down in the hole. That's going to negatively impact the health of the plant long term and prevent it from sending out its root system far and wide to rapidly become established and actually become a low water demanding plant. And so we're just going to gently loosen up the roots. If a few of them break, that's fine. We're not trying to totally tear them, but we're really making sure that we are completely resetting this pattern all the way around. This is what we're going to do for the vast majority of the species. There's a few sensitive species like Manzanitas. A few other native plants. Will have that list in the comments that do not want any root loosening, but this is our typical practice and we find it works very, very well for us. And so that's it. And now when we plant, these roots are detangled and can start to grow into something much closer to their natural pattern. You want to check around the top two. Sometimes they'll escape up there. You'll miss them. And now we put this down into the hole and we do one last check of the soil level, because sometimes with the loosening we do lose a little bit of that height of the root ball. Now we're ready to backfill, and that's where these tubs that I really like to have around on planting days really come in handy, because you can kind of turn them into a little spout and rapidly but carefully pour soil back into the hole. And so normally I'll go about a third or halfway up and then move the soil around, tossing out any really large pieces of gravel, and then gently but firmly packing the soil around the root ball to make sure we're not going to get any air pockets or too much settling when we water this plant in. You notice we're doing no fertilizers, no compost going back into the hole, just natural soil. One of the lovely things about working with native plants and many of our water-wise plants is that they don't need highly fertile soil. And in fact, the nutrients in the compost aren't going to be good for their health, just native soil right back in. The only exception would be if you have very heavy clay soil. You might mix in like a wheelbarrow or in a large tub about 1/4 to 1/3 of a compost or planting mix back into the hole. The vast majority of situations though, native soil right back in.
As you backfill, you want to create a gently sloping mound of the native soil from your site, up to and even with the level of that elevated root ball of your plant. You never want the nursery potting soil to be sticking up out of the native site soil, because exposed roots would dry out and die.
And here we go. Our planting is complete if we are planting this into an area that has an overhead irrigation system, if we're going to be setting up a sprinkler, or if we had a drip grid sort of situation where the entire zone gets watered when you turn the irrigation on. If that's the case, do that as quickly as possible in your planting area, and everything will get soaked through with a deep watering down through the depth of the entire root zone as soon as you can. However, hand watering is just fine as well. And if you're going to be hand watering, keep watching and I'll show you how we make watering rings and do the all-important first hand irrigation for our plants. Just ignore the drip lines for the purpose of this demonstration. We're demonstrating what we'd be doing if there was no irrigation system. And so what we're going to do essentially is we're going to dig a shallow trench on this side closer to the edge of the mulch, and we're going to use that soil to mound up here to give us a sort of double ring. And so in early days with this plant that we're hand watering, we're just going to water inside this ring, but as the plant starts to get wider, we always want to be watering both where the existing root ball is and where we're trying to incentivize the roots to grow into. And so for hand watering, we're then going to eventually start filling both the outer ring and the inner ring, and eventually just transition once the plant is more grown in to more just watering around that outer ring area until this plant becomes fully established. The next critically important step is to tightly pack down your watering ring. So you can see that is quite a bit of effort at the time of planting to create this really robust watering ring if you're going to be hand watering. However, your ability to get your plants well established and on their way to being thriving native or water-wise plants is really directly related to your ability to deeply and thoroughly provide irrigation, usually once a week during that initial year or so for the establishment period. And so it is more than worth it. It's not a good investment to buy a nice, healthy, water-wise or native plant and then not do a thorough enough job on setting up your planting and your ability to irrigate your plant. And so what you want to do is to really eyeball as best as possible, having this ring being level around the top. I'm still really never 100% sure until I water it the first time and then I make my adjustments. One last quick tip is that I advise that you either be very gentle watering, mostly applying water around the edge of the watering ring, or if you know that you're just going to be going through it a little bit quicker, if your plant is mounded properly in the middle, sometimes quickly filling up this hole can wash some soil away from the crown of the root ball. If you have gravelly soil or just some gravel around, you can pick up a few rocks of whatever's laying around and just sort of pile them right at the root crown. And that's just going to take a little bit of the force of that water away from that area and prevent it from being washed away as you water for the first few weeks. There we go. It doesn't need to be a work of art, just something to blunt the force of the water directly hitting that elevated root ball. Right here, we actually have my favorite tool for hand watering establishment of plants. This is a 2-gallon watering can. Watering cans can come in many different sizes, so be sure you know how many gallons yours holds. If I'm aiming to apply 3 to 5 gallons of water to this plant once a week during establishment, I know I need to get about 2 watering cans worth onto this. Now, the first time we water by hand, though, we're aiming to apply more. We're going to be aiming for more 5 to 10 gallons of water over the first couple of days, just to really make sure the soil is fully saturated and we're settling out any air pockets. But we're going to start with 2 gallons and we'll also be able to see how much water this ring holds for us. So this is exactly what we're going for. Each filling about 2 gallons, have plenty of capacity. What you can see is that even though I've done this many times, especially every site's different, slope's a little bit different, I have extra soil here and maybe could use a little bit more soil to secure things on this side. And so my adjustment is going to be moving a little bit of the extra soil where it's taller on the top and carefully packing it down just to help make sure that I don't overflow it on the downhill side. And so we're pretty good. We're going to let this fully drain out. We'll do something else in the garden, and then we're going to come back and hit it one more time. Now, critical is that you want to come back the first few times you water and check every single time, because there very well might be some areas that sink in a little bit, if there is some air pockets, if the soil needed to settle, if there's any gaps, and especially if there's a gap up against the little root ball of your plant, you want to grab a handful of soil and fill that in right away so that that doesn't dry out. So there you have it. None of these tips are particularly difficult, but they really do make a huge difference in getting your young native or water-wise plants off to a great start. So if you found this video useful, please be sure to like it and follow us for much more California native and water-wise gardening content. And be sure to check out our water-wise community nursery, where you'll actually be able to buy our favorite plants starting this fall.